I wanted to jump into after the break. Oh boy, we had some of the most major events in the last week, right?
Yeah.
The
earthquake?
The earthquake, which I think ties into the satellite balloon, the Chinese spy balloon story. Okay, and this has got to be like in one of our first 5 to 10 episodes we covered, because this is from, well, this article is more recent than this video. This is September 16th, 2020. This video was published by the Department of Defense, and we covered it probably around that time, where Mark Esper, who was the former, I think he was the Secretary of Defense under Trump at that time, he was talking about
Association
killer satellites, leveraged by Russia and China.
Oh,
of course,
right.
Of course, we don't have killer satellites. They have killer satellites. But the point we were making then, the point we can revisit now, is that, like, we were talking about killer satellites,
right,
and that they exist, And let me see if I can jump to it, but I'll play this clip.
And there, there's been predictive programming about this idea of like upper elevation weapons, right?
Right.
But I mean, of course, they superimpose it
for hosting an important event that brings together the.
Yeah, I want you to finish your point, because in our intro, in the Zetitic News cast intro, we feature little clips from the movie Geostorm,
right,
which has, like you said, upper elevation, supposedly in the orbit of the globe, these killer devices that are solar powered and can release like different chemical agents. Or what this guy's talking about is directed energy weapons, and that was a big thing with like the California fires, right? Like on Instagram and TikTok and stuff, people were it went pretty viral. I remember with some of the California fires, which we seem to have every year. Of course, they have them every year, but the ones that destroyed like a bunch of high-end real estate, and really started to encroach into the city. People were noticing these are not like forest fires. These are not necessarily where we would normally have fires, and they would also just combust, almost like instantaneously combust.
From like the inside out.
And so that was then fact checked by Instagram and these other platforms at the time. Independent fact checkers say this is blah 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 blah. And it was like dissuaded. But then we have the actual Secretary of Defense talking about killer satellites.
Well, even the Bond movie Goldeneye, I mean, literally has multiple representations in that movie where
Austin Powers, right? He's got his laser on the moon.
Exactly.
It's joked about in a Hollywood film, but it's funded at the Pentagon. You know what I mean? So let's see what this guy's
finest aerospace leaders and professionals. First and foremost, I'd like to wish a happy birthday to the United States Air Force.
Oh my God!
For 73 years and counting, you have provided our nation with unlimited reach, unmatched power, and unyielding vigilance across the globe.
73.
As we look toward the next 7 decades and beyond, emerging technologies are fundamentally altering the character of warfare. Our air, space, and cyber personnel will be at the forefront of tomorrow's high-end fight. In the years ahead, wars will be fought not just on land and sea, as they have for thousands of years, or in the air as they have for the past century, but also in outer space and cyberspace in unprecedented ways. Preparing for this requires modernizing our force for high-intensity conflict. It requires strengthening our network of allies and partners, and it requires expanding our warfighting capabilities across all 5 of these domains. In this era of great power competition, we cannot take for granted the United States' long-held advantages. The Air Force, in particular, has maintained uncontested air superiority for decades, with persistent intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, and precision airstrikes anytime, anywhere. However, our near-peer rivals, China and Russia, seek to erode our long-standing dominance in air power through long-range fires, anti-axis aerial denial systems, and other asymmetric capabilities designed to counter our strengths. Meanwhile, in space, Moscow and Beijing have turned a once peaceful arena into a warfighting domain. They have weaponized space through killer satellites, directed energy weapons, and more in an effort to exploit our systems and chip away at our military advantage. Furthermore, our competitors and adversaries exploit cyberspace to undermine our security without confronting our conventional strengths.
So there's the mention of killer satellites, directed energy weapons. That's a quote. Okay, he said that. So those things exist. If Russia has them, if China has them, we have them, right? Like, come on.
Sure.
Basic. And then the Chinese balloon, like this whole story, do people not question?
Yeah, this is all. It's what it seems like to me is just like a bunch of posturing around the Space Force.
This definitely was.
I mean, because wait a second, balloons are always all over the place. They have been surveilling things, and our air stuff goes into other airspaces all the time. Like, I don't really see how it's a revelation of anything other than, maybe the technology that we're designating as satellite isn't necessarily of the characteristic we assume it to be, in that maybe these satellites are not actually locked in geosynchronous orbit, moving 18,000 miles an hour, and going to the moon and back on a daily basis by circling the globe.
Well, this was a story from, you mentioned it, I think, on the last show. This is from 2019, where a staggering discovery reveals the moon lies inside Earth's atmosphere. Even though
and then they show you this,
even though the fucking picture, it's still not showing that.
No,
they have this
cognitive dissonance.
Let's literally, I could go into Photoshop right now and show you this image they have right here of the globe.
Totally.
They literally took the image, they went into blending options, they created glow.
Right.
And then they selected this teal color on the glow effect. This is not even 101 Photoshop shit.
Well,
and
you know what this reminds me of, just briefly, is did you hear about that whole kind of reporting scandal around the girl on the bus who was like beat up, who was like a 9-year-old girl?
No.
And the person reporting on it was I don't know, sort of like a progressive, like, black female journalist, and the thumbnail that she used to depict or like represent the kind of story she was talking about was a white boy who was like rearing his fist back. It was like a still image, and it looked like he was about to hit this girl, which is totally stock like image. But the actual reality of what occurred was it was a white girl, but it was not a white boy. Who was ganging up and striking her.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's just like this.
A picture's worth 1,000 words, and you see the picture before you read any text. That's just basic layout.
Yeah, they're
human psyche. Yeah. And why this is relevant. This report is about how the moon is actually in our quote atmosphere, which we can talk about atomosphere and the whole idea of it anyways. But like this picture they're showing us, that's how Hollywood has told us it all works and it looks.
Right.
But if it were our actual atmosphere, they wouldn't have this like very distinct separation between the infinite vacuum of space and this like glowing like etheric atmosphere that they created in Photoshop with the blending option tool. You know, and so like the whole idea of satellites, right, is they orbit the Earth between the moon and the Earth. But like if the moon is actually in the atmosphere, then like where are the satellites exactly? Like how far out? You know, it just none of it adds up.
Absolutely nonsensical.
None of it adds up.
And even this depiction here, which is, you know, of course, total bollocks. Even if it was trying to refer to the bamboozle scarcity model that we have today of, you know, the globe in space, it's still not the right proportions. They say that the moon is 2/3 the size of Earth.
Mm-hmm, right.
So what are they even doing here?
Yeah.
I mean, the point is the entire cosmological gestalt is riddled with bullshit.
You can just make up any old fucking image, and look how big whatever this is. Is this supposed to be North America?
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
Zero sense.
Makes no sense. But yeah, so the balloon.
And here's another laughable model. Again, with even the wrong proportions. They say that the moon is 2/3 the size. Does that look like 2/3 the size?
No.
It's like they're just making shit up.
Yeah, and with the balloon story, it was such a massive distraction because who actually saw this thing?
Exactly.
Who actually saw it? Honestly, because I think if it was truly flying at 60,000 feet, like they said it was,
not be able to see that.
Most people, unless they were leveraging a high-X zoom, would be able to see it with the naked eye,
with a high resolution.
And that is true. Equipment. That is true on the daily, because, like you said before, balloons are you know, and other devices are
all over the place.
All over the place. And so, really, we were all just looking at the balloon on the TV. Okay. Then the other thing is China spy balloon. Like, what a fucking obvious giveaway. Like, if it was really China, like, would they tell us that? If it was a legitimate military threat, would they tell us it was a China, or would they shoot it down and then tell us what happened? Like, why is it this big media event? Okay.
Right.
Then, like, China's an adversary. Are they? I don't know. Like, because, you know, there's what happens in the media is not what happens in the back room political dealings, the meetings of whatever heads of state and this and that. You know, how does anybody know that it's actually from China? On its face, it's bullshit.
It's just like the day of 9/11, those guys coming out and being like, "Oh, we have pretty good intelligence. It's definitely Osama bin Laden."
Right, and like they had to shoot it down and then supposedly send it to Quantico FBI to do analysis. It's like, how did y'all know that if you needed to do analysis after you shot it down? Obviously, you want to do more analysis, but how did you know it was from China? If you knew it was from China, you knew it was there. When did you know? And then you let it go across the whole country, and it's like if China wanted to surveil us, and they have this vast network of space satellites, why would they send a balloon that can't really be controlled? I mean, unless you're telling me that they can be. Maybe you could mount a propeller on there and control the balloons. Do we have a network of balloons that are conducting surveillance
and doing all kinds of communications?
Someone dropped this in the ZNN Telegram, which y'all should join. Look up Ztitic News on Telegram. This is from look, The Guardian tells us
this article is more than 3 years old.
Pentagon testing mass surveillance balloons across the United States. The U.S. military is conducting wide area surveillance tests across 6 Midwest states using experimental high-altitude balloons. Documents filed with the FCC reveal. And we've talked about it before. Like the biggest purchaser of helium in North America, I believe, is NASA.
Oh, why would they need so much helium? Is it rocket fuel? Oh no, it's balloon fuel. Okay, yeah. Well, there you have it. Space is fake and gay.
The other thing is, if China wanted to spy on us, why wouldn't they paint the balloon sky blue? You know what I mean? Like, if they really wanted to spy on us, why wouldn't they paint the balloon sky blue? If it was sky blue, nobody could fucking see that thing. And they're telling us it's like the size of 3 buses. A commercial airliner is bigger than 3 buses, right? And you can barely see it at 35,000 feet with aluminum siding, which reflects the sunlight. So, like, I can understand seeing that. But a balloon that's smaller than a jetliner, twice as high,
not moving,
you could barely
fast.
see it even if it's white. But if you want to be really secretive, if you're a sneaky Chinese communist who wants to spy on all our secret nuclear sites that use floppy disks, you would paint it sky blue.
Right.
But they didn't. If it's China. So I just fucking I feel like I'm at the circus, and I'm just like front seat watching the circus.
But it's like, you know how if you were in the audience of a circus and shit didn't really start to go right, like say they wheel out,
the show must go on, right? The show must go on.
Like
the tiger killed the trainer.
Exactly.
You just sweep that guy under the rug.
That was part of the show, guys. Like,
he's okay. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Just like all the collapsing athletes. Oh, it was, you know, that was a really hard.
That was
hit,
another thing that happened in our little hiatus, was that NFL player who, you know, collapsed, and now everybody's talking about this subject, which, you know,
it's also kind of like swept under the rug and memory hold really fast, because apparently, oh yeah, he got a lot better, but he doesn't really look the same.
No, don't talk about that.
Oh, we can't talk about
and then
that.
I need to verify this really before I say it as fact, but I read, could be wrong, but I think Pfizer sponsored the Sam Smith,
oh yeah, they definitely did.
you know, Grammy performance.
They definitely did.
And it's just like, man, do they really want to, you know, heal the world? Jeez.